Ahoy! Got another good one for you here. You ever wanted to explore the catacombs of Paris without the fun of a tour guide? Well, here's a couple reasons why you shouldn't. So what I watched is, obviously, As Above, So Below. Yes. It's the story of an aspiring Lara Croft wannabe woman named Scarlett and her cameraman buddy, what's his name? Benji, who are filming a documentary about her many exploits. The very beginning of the movie, they show... Oh shit! Spoilers! That's not a spoiler though, that's just what the movie's about, so hopefully that doesn't completely ruin it for you. Anyway, spoiler alert, you've been warned slightly late. Anyway, getting right into it. Scarlett has, at the very beginning, it shows her in like Syria breaking into a tomb and discovering this, what does she call it? It's like a rose key or something, and like it can translate any language into like Aramaic or something like that. I can't really remember, but she knows 6 different languages, 2 of which are dead languages, none of which are Aramaic, so she has to go find her buddy George. So Benji and Scarlett go off to find George, who's in a church, which they break into, and he's fixing the bell for some reason. And yeah, apparently the bell hasn't run in like 200 years, so bells ring, everyone's like, what the fuck? Anyway, she says, okay, so I need someone to translate Aramaic for me. And he shows her, or she shows him all the pictures from this tomb, which unfortunately was like exploded shortly after she got all that. But she got the pictures. And they're figuring it out. He's like, okay, so this looks like it's pointing towards, you know, something. And she's like, yeah, I thought the same thing. So apparently this gravestone that's in a museum in Paris, they're in Paris right now, by the way, has like hints towards what, where you can find the fabled Philosopher Stone. So she's not only like an anthropologist type Tomb Raider thing, she is into like the arcane of it as well. So, alchemy and stuff, so that's kind of cool. So she wants to prove basically that the Philosopher's Stone is a legitimate thing. Can't remember exactly what the Philosopher's Stone is. I think it turns, you know, elements into gold, and it can heal and stuff. I'm just basing that on what happens in the movie, but anyway. So she thinks it's real. They go to this museum and they get access to the area to look at the tablet after hours, I guess. I guess George has an in person. Anyway, she takes it off the wall and like burns the back of it. He's like, what are you doing? And it reveals a message. They're like, oh, alright, that's kind of cool. And so eventually what she reads off of this message leads her to believe that within... It says something like below the grave, like halfway between the grave and hell is where you'll find the Philosopher's Stone or whatever. And so they're thinking like, what? And they figure out, based on old text, that hell is supposed to be like 700 and something feet down or something like that. And so they say, okay, well, like 300 and something feet. They're like, well, what's that? And then they're like, I think the catacombs go that deep. So that's where they go. And they get a map of the catacombs, and there's no catacomb area on the map that goes under where this grave in the museum is, until they realize, okay, sections of the street in the past had collapsed because of the catacombs. And it leads in a straight line that goes right under the museum. So, theoretically, there should be a chamber in there. So, cue the dun-da-dun-da, dun-da-da. No, there's no travel map or anything. But, they take a tour guide of the catacombs. And, she finds, based on the map, underground, where she thinks the entrance is. And it's, like, sealed up with, like, bones and everything. But there's apparently, she believes, chambers beyond that sealed up mound of bones in the wall. So that's fun. Obviously she can't do it right now. She's thinking out loud, far away enough from the tour group so she can talk to Benji and George herself, and she's like, well, where are we gonna find this? And then some French guy just like, yeah, you gotta look for Papillon. And she's like, what? It's like, Papillon, he's at the something club. So they go to the something club, and it's like a cool like nightclub type scene with all these technically stuff, and they find Papillon, who is like, do I look like a fucking tour guide? I can't do French accent, but that's my attempt. Love that accent, by the way, it's great. So yeah, he says, what am I, a tour guide? And they're like, no, do I look like a tourist? And he's just like, yeah, you kind of do. You got a British accent, and this buddy's American here, you're a tourist. Anyway, she shows him the map and all of her things, and he's starting to think, like, oh, okay, there's more to this. And she's like, there's treasure. He's like, oh, okay, you didn't say treasure. So he says, can I have half of the treasure? And she's like, you can have all of the treasure. And then George quickly pipes up. He's like, no, half is good. Half is good. I think that's reasonable. Because, I mean, if there is no treasure, I don't know if they know that there's a treasure there or not, but telling him he can have all of it, he's going to think there's no fucking treasure. But anyway, whatever. So they go through a hole in a fence, down like a little hillside area, follow some tracks. Sorry, dry throat again. Down the tracks and through like a tunnel where they're quickly rushed by police, la policia, or whatever. What is French for police? La police, I think, right? I don't remember. Anyway, they're rushed by the police and they quickly go down this little hole that leads into the underground area that leads to the forbidden zone of the catacombs, or the off-limits area, I should say. And they make it down there and they're traveling, and there's like water on the ground, and it's, you know, the structures are obviously old. There's spray paint tags like everywhere, and Papillon stops to do his little circle with Pap in it. So I'm just going to call him Pap for the rest of the review. Anyway, he does that. He does his little tag. Like, aha, that's me. And he points to another one. It's like, okay, buddy, we get it. Anyway, they're going through the water, and they get deeper into the catacomb area, and there's like weird like chanting. He's like, yeah, there's some fucked up people that come down here. You just kind of want to ignore them. They're not going to hurt you or anything, but they're weird. And as they're walking, they see through like a hole in the wall, like a bunch of like really pale people with like red face paint on and in like dirty white robes, chanting ominously. It's almost like a choral sound, like a choir kind of, but like a really ominous one. Anyway, whatever. The leader turns and sees them, and that's all you see. That's all that happens. They don't like get attacked by them or anything. But anyway, they keep going, and she stops and she sees another boned off wall, and she's like, "This is the area." And Pap is like, "No, we have to go this way." It's like, "No, this is like a direct route to it. Like, we should go this way." And he's like, "No, trust me. That tunnel. I know the areas around here. I don't know that tunnel. I had a buddy who like basically lived down here for like a decade, and he went down that tunnel because he was curious. It was the only one that he didn't know, and he never came back. So we don't go down that tunnel." And they're like, "Oh, fine." So they go the other way, and they have to crawl over bones, and Benji gets stuck, and he has a little mid-panic attack, but they end up getting him out, and it turns out to be, it leads them in a complete circle, and they're kind of confused. Even Pap is like, "That's weird, it's a straight line. We didn't turn. How are we back where we were?" And they're all mad at him, thinking he doesn't know what he's doing. So they have no other choice, really, because that was the only other way. So Scarlett starts taking these bones out of the wall here, the forbidden path that Pap had said, "Don't do it." Oh, I should add, there's two other of Pap's crew. So there's Zed and Suxi. Call her Suxi. That's her. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, they're his team. They go through anyway because Scarlett's already taken it down, and they're like, "All right, treasure, right? So let's do it." Whatchamacallit? So yeah, they go through there, and they end up finding like a waterway. Like they're splashing through all this dirty water, and then there's like a really dark room that they find behind like a hidden wall that Scarlett figures out with her very unsmooth, unreptile brain. And it's like one of those, what's she call it? A something puzzle where you have to bring a specific brick out based on how many planets there were at the time. But at the time, the moon and the sun were a planet, and Neptune and Uranus weren't discovered yet, and Earth wasn't considered a planet. So they had to do like some thinking about when this thing was built to pull the correct thing, or the whole ceiling will collapse on them and smoosh them, which they did correctly, and they did not get smooshed, so that was good. So they go through this, and then there's like they find like a Knight Templar who's not rotted, and he's dead, but he's like on this stone slab, not rotting and just like pale. They're kind of like, okay, that's creepy. How does that work? Anyway, then she reads something on the wall and something about like darkness. She's like, okay, everyone turn off their headlamps. And so they do. And then they look, and under the water, there's a very faint glow coming from, there's a tunnel just under the water level. So water, bottom of wall, tunnel. I don't know why I had to do the visual, but she's like, okay, well, I guess we're going through it. And they're like, well, take a look and see what's on the other side first. And she looks. She's like, I can't really see anything. She just goes for it. And they're like, what? All right. Anyway, she surfaces on the other side, and as soon as she pops up, there's like gold coins everywhere and like a metal gate. And behind the gate, there's literally like tons of treasure. She doesn't give a shit about that, however. Oh, side note, this whole time George didn't want to go into the cave thing because he lost his brother in a cave who drowned or something like that. There's this whole thing with that, but when the police came, he had no other choice to join them, and now he's stuck there with them, so he's not thrilled. But anyway, that comes into play later a little bit. Where was I? Right, Chamber of Gold. George goes through next, pops up, sees her looking at this wall. He's like, holy shit, that's it, isn't it? She's like, yup. There's a big mural, and it's something to do with like the sun and the moon, and like the mythology behind why the sun and the moon are separated or whatever. And then sure enough, she looks, and where the moon is, boom, Philosopher Stone. Holy shit. So she grabs it, and at this point all the others have gone through as well. And Papin and Zed and Suxi are like trying to take the gate off, and as they pull it off, alarm sounds in Scarlett's head, and looks, and she's like, no, it's like anyway, of course it's booby trapped. So the ceiling collapses, and Suxi gets her arms smashed. There's like blood. They managed to pull her out. Oh shit, they ran into the friend that got lost in the catacombs. I forgot to mention that. So he was with them too this whole time, but he got crushed under all that. So the reunion was very short-lived, but he survived somehow, like years, in like the deep catacomb area, or not even the catacomb area. Anyway, so right, collapse. Then they find another thing. That's where she sees as above, so below, and she's like, okay, that means essentially, and she goes into this philosophical stuff about like things are like what your mind perceives of them or whatever, and what is up is down. And then she's like, okay, so that means that clearly there's something down. There's a little puddle of water, and she starts smashing the bottom of it, and sure enough, breaks the bottom out and it drains, and there's a tunnel that goes down. So what do? I mean, they're trapped otherwise. They gotta go down. There's no other way to go. You have to at least try. So they do. They go down, and things start getting more messed up. They go down, and it's they find like a well that goes even further down. And anyway, this whole thing ends up like looping again. It's like very similar rooms, but like one of them is upside down, one of them is mirrored, but they're all similar to what they've already done. So they've had to go through the bones again, they've had to go through the well again, all that jazz, until finally they make it to a really underground area where, unfortunately, going down one of like the third well, I think it is, Benji meets his demise. He's the last one to go down, and you see a figure go behind him. Looks like a person, kind of, but like really pale. And next thing you know, you just hear rope moving, and then you see Benji's body like at like full speed velocity smash into the ground, dead. He's done. So Scarlett is like, oh my god, that's like her buddy or whatever. So now 2 people are gone, essentially, at this point. That's not good. Oh shit, Scarlett's dead too. I completely forgot about that. So they end up... Well, she dies next. Sorry, oh my god, I'm all over the place. So they find this room, and it starts getting like even creepier and stuff, and they enter it, and they see the Knight Templar body again. It's like the same one, but a different one, because, you know, loop. And they see Cave Buddy in the corner, and he's breathing heavily and just standing there, and Suxi goes up to him and she's trying to like get his attention, like, dude, are you okay? Oh my god, I thought you got like crushed. And he like lunges at her and she backs up quickly and he stops and she's like, oh my god. And they're like, no, Suxi, don't, there's something wrong with him, don't. Unfortunately, her kind heart wants to make sure he's okay, grabs her arm, he immediately turns on her, smashes her face into the rocky ground. She's dead. I'm guessing that was Pap's girlfriend or whatever, because he is devastated, like more so than seeing Cave Buddy die when he thought that he died. He's like, bring her back. Oh shit, yeah, so fuck. So when her arm was there, I don't remember if I mentioned it, but she used the Philosopher Stone and actually did heal her wound. So it legitimately is the Philosopher Stone. So crazy. Score 1 for the Wizards. Point for Gryffindor, or whatever the hell they say. Right, so he tries to heal her, or she tries to heal her, and she's like, I'm sorry, unfortunately we can't. It apparently doesn't bring back the dead, so... And Cave Buddy's just gone, I guess, so I don't know. Anyway, they continue, and they hear, like, screaming. And they see another tunnel, and above it, it says in Aramaic, abandon hope, all who enter here, or something like that. Whatever I actually wrote this one down somewhere here, let me check. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. There we go. So that's in Aramaic, and that apparently, according to legend, is the inscription above the entrance to hell, like Abrahamic religion hell. So that's fun. But, you know, they don't really believe that, so they go for it anyway. And that's when they start hearing screams and stuff, and they see like a cloaked, or yeah, they don't see the figure yet, but they see a fire around the corner of a cave, and they go, and there's a car, like a burnt out car shell burning in there with a person sitting in it, and the person is just sitting there, and he looks, and he grabs Pap and pulls him into the car, and they're trying to hold him there, and he gets pulled right into that car and incinerated, and then the car like implodes into itself and like disappears and gets sucked into the ground, and you just see Paps like from his calves up sticking out of the solid rock ground, and they're like, what the fuck was that? And they try to pull him out, but it's in rock, so obviously they can't get him. Then they see faces in the wall, and they hear more screaming from different distances away, like just one or two people here and there. You can hear screaming and weird noises, like growling and like a really deep brass like instrument sound, or like scraping metal. It's really creepy. So they then, at this point, it's George, Scarlett, and Zed are the only ones left. So good times. That's when they see the hooded figure. Way in the distance, across a corridor, they see a hooded figure move, and they freak out. Like, he's huge too. And they panic, and they run around a corner, and they're like breathing heavy. They're like, okay, what the fuck? So they go around the corner, and they see this hooded figure facing away from them, sitting in a chair, facing away from them, and they're like, okay, we gotta sneak by this guy. We can't go back, because there is no way to get out back. In the outback, eh? But we have to go past this guy. I don't know why I said that. So they sneak past the guy, but just as they're about to leave the room, of course, he gets up and turns his head and chases them, and they sort of get away from him, and that's when these faces in the wall burst out, and they end up being like little rock demon things. And one of them bites, it's either Zed or George, I can't remember who, bites him, and the other one pulls him, and the creature's coming, and she's like, oh my god. She tries to heal, but the Philosopher Stone is not working, and she realizes, oh shit, it really isn't the real one. I don't know how she came to that conclusion, I can't remember, but anyway, she does. It's like, shit, I have to go back and put it back to like a tone. And they're like, what? She's like, yeah, this is like everything that's happened so far, I think the myths are true. I gotta follow the story plan. So she has to go all the way back. I forgot to say, it's like a first person, like a found footage type thing. So these are all like head cams and stuff. Anyway, it shows her like frantically running through the cave. English. Running through the cave, like knocking through those rock things and going back the entire way she went, up the wells, through bones, back into the room, puts the Philosopher's Stone back. She crawled over like a trench with like a sewer water with two things on the side, so 1 foot on the other, and it like turned into blood, and hands grabbed her and pulled her in, but she has to go back. And now the Philosopher's Stone, when she goes through that area, it sees the hands like slowly like calming down and disappearing, and it's okay. So I guess shit's getting better. She makes it back to them, and yeah, it must have been George, because that's who she gives a little smooch, and her little smooch magic made his neck wound heal miraculously. So I guess she atoned. Yeah, and then they have to like jump down this big pit or something, but everyone has to like confess to something. So they're like, George's like, my brother in the cave, I left and I couldn't find him again, so he died because of me. And then Zed had a whole thing, and everyone's doing their thing, and they jump down the hole, and they land with a sickening thud, but don't die. And they eventually find a manhole, and they're trying to pull it up, and they can't. And they see it move a little bit, and they're like, what did you do? What did you do? And she's like, I pushed it down. And they're like, what? So they push it down, and it slowly like sinks down and then pops back up. Like it's like magnetized or something. There's light coming from the other side of it. Turns out, I guess they're in the upside down or something, because it's a manhole leading to the street. So they're pressed against what they think is a floor, but it's actually under the street. They managed to push the manhole off, do some gravity-defying acrobatics to climb out of this manhole properly, and yeah, Zed quietly just sort of walks off on his own, and they give a little huggy to each other, and I guess they're in love or something, because why not? Apparently she like left him in a Turkish prison or something, and then they both were like, Turkey was the best time of my life because that was the last time they hung out or something. I don't know, that was a little ridiculous. If they removed the romance thing, it would have been better, but whatever. Anyway, it's there and it doesn't ruin it. And then they cut back to a clip of the very beginning of the interview that she was doing with Benji before she even met up with George, saying, yeah, basically this is my thing, I don't do it for the riches. And he's like, oh, so you just kind of want to know what's up? And she's like, yeah, I'm just looking for the truth. And then it ends. So 3 of 6 survived. Good for them, right? I enjoyed it. It was cool. I definitely had seen it before, because I remember like the figure on the chair. That scene like stands out vividly in my memory. So I know I've seen this. Or there was a game based on it, maybe, or like a level in a game that was based on it, because I really remember that vividly, but I don't really remember the rest of it. So I don't know. If anyone knows of a game like this, like put it in the comments, I guess. But like maybe I'm just on drugs or something, who knows, and I'm just thinking of things that don't exist. But yeah, I liked it. It was cool. It was the right amount of creepiness. It didn't rely on jump scares, which are fun, but like they're kind of cheap. I like those movies that make you think, and it's like, okay, this is creepy. Yeah, like Nosferatu kind of did that. It wasn't just like blah in your face. And what was another one that did that? Oh, what was that movie? God damn. With the no, it doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, I prefer those kind of movies. So because of that, I'm gonna give it 7.3. That seems about right. It was a good watch. I would watch it again, like not this year probably, but I would come back to it every so often. It was pretty fun. Also, the whole catacombs thing of Paris has always like kind of fascinated me. So maybe I'm biased, but anyway. Should you check it out? Yeah, you should. It was cool. If you're looking for like cheap scares, it doesn't really have. I mean, there's a couple that I guess could kind of catch you, but like it's mostly like a psychological build-up, just the whole scene of it. I recommend watching it in the pitch black, as I did, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. All right, well that sums it up. 7.3. Check it out. All right, peace.